Good afternoon, good morning, and good night to some of you all. A very warm welcome to the last session of the Startup Podium, which is part of the Medical Fair Singapore. So I'm Pratishta Jain. I'm co-curator for the Startup Podium, along with Mr. Muthu Singaram. He is one of the spearheading persons for the Startup Podium. So I'm really, really glad to be doing the final session for today. And we have an action-packed panel today for our conversation and spotlight on what is the regional perspective on medical health and challenges. So MedTech opportunities and challenges, a regional perspective. So the way we will be doing this panel is a little interesting. We will have a spotlight presentation by some of the leading healthcare experts and people around the globe sharing the experiences in terms of opportunities and challenges. So we will start with Alina. Alina, I will not make the introduction because I do not want to short sell anybody. So I will request you to give a quick introduction, and then we will go ahead with the introductions. So first online, you will have Alina. Alina, please go ahead and with your presentation.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Good morning from France. I hope you can, that you can see my screen now.
Yes.
So it's my pleasure to be here with you this morning, this afternoon, this night for some others, to talk about opportunities in augmented reality and virtual reality in healthcare. So I'm going to give you a quick overview of the opportunities, focusing especially on healthcare professionals and on patients. And then we're going to have three companies who are doing amazing things in the space and we present their own solutions. So let's go to it. So I thought I would start by talking about the definition. We talk a lot about VR, AR, MR, and just to put everybody on the same line. So when we talk about virtual reality, VR, it's like we are fully immersed in a virtual environment. So those are like the glasses that completely cover your eyes. When we talk about augmented reality, so you are in the real world and there's kind of a layer of virtual world like on top of it. So it's like enhancing the real world. And then the third one, mixed reality. Maybe we talk a bit less about this one, but it's a growing field. So you can interact both with the real world and the virtual world. So I put this example here on the side so you can see those two healthcare professionals. They are using like AR. They've got that virtual world in front of them, and the beauty is that they can actually interact. They can turn that brain, or to have a close look at it. So now that we set up the stage, let's go to it. So first, one of the big field where AR VR has an impact is in medical education. So first, to train healthcare professionals, so that can be like nurses, physicians, specialists. It can be students, so really all those persons who are starting into medicine, or it can be like this continuous learning. So healthcare professionals to keep up to date with the new technologies, to keep learning. So we've got a first example, like Sim for Health. So that's like virtual reality. You completely immerse in a situation, and here you can see that it can help the people to actually practice. So you're like in a patient's room. You got a patient in front of you. And you can practice. So what would you do with that patient? You can like do an injection to him, do a blood test. So it's actually pretty funny because like things can fall on the floor. So you really learn by doing. So AR/VR can also be used to plan and prepare surgeries. So so you can actually test different scenarios, see which one is best for your specific case. And you can prepare surgery. So you see the case of CAE on the screen. So that really helps the healthcare professionals to understand like how the body is, like if there's a tumor, where the tumor is, where should they go to get that tumor. This would be an example of VR where you can really see like inside the body. Maybe you can turn the different organs. And I can really see these very soon replacing all the dead bodies that the medical students are using at the moment. So yeah, really a new way of learning and doing. And the last one, so virtual reality and augmented reality also enable to broadcast operations. So I won't go in too much detail about that because Rod is going to talk about it in his presentation afterwards. But I put the example of Professor Shafi Hamed, who is based in London, and is very famous for broadcasting operations for students. He also uses the Snapchat glasses. And so the advantage of that is that Shafi or other health or other physician are broadcasting live, and the students can actually ask questions, and Shafi is answering those questions on the go. So that's a great way for students to learn. And also the other advantage about those virtual reality is that when the physician, the specialist is wearing the glasses, the student can see what the doctor is saying. So it's also a very good way. It's a different angle for them to learn. Other advantage of AR and VR, it's really what I call like augmented medicine. It makes a healthcare professional like better professional. It really enhances their capabilities and support them in their everyday life. So first example, if visualizing data. So you see first example, like I feel lab. So imagine that you're at the hospital. You go and visit your patient, and then so you're wearing your ortho glasses, and with the tip of your finger, you can just make appear like all the charts about the patient file, the real-time vitals of your patient, so everything at the tip of a finger. Then you've got the example of AccuVein. So that enables it makes the veins appear on the arm. So I think that's especially useful for the nurses and the student nurses who are learning how to put IV, for instance. And this would have been very useful with Ebola a few years ago when they needed to put IV to hydrate the patient, and they were missing nurses to do that. And when you're not used to put IV, it could be quite difficult. So that would be a great help. Another good application is remote visit. So if you imagine yourself in the first image, so you see the first doctor or the first person on the front, that could be, imagine that it's a student or a nurse. So she goes into the patient's room, she's wearing those glasses. The doctor in charge is at home. It's not at the hospital, but he can see what that person is seeing through the glasses. So he can guide that person, he can tell her what to do, the question to ask, he sees everything. So it means that he can be in his house and visit like different patients, different hospitals from his house without the need to travel. And that can really make like a big difference, especially with like physician burnout. And you can also imagine that healthcare professionals can see patients like in another part, in another country, or countries who are missing doctors or specialists. They can get doctors or healthcare professionals to support them through that technology. So I think that's be pretty amazing. And the last example I wanted to mention is that company called MedSites Tech, who are developing a novel X-ray technology, or like wearing those augmented reality glasses. It acts kind of an X-ray, and you can actually see the tumor of the patient while you're operating. So it's still in the process, but I think it's also very exciting. Another very important actor in that ecosystem is the patient, and ARV are really helping to take better care of the patient. So first, for rehabilitation, so it's more and more it's used into rehabilitation. And I put the example of Sheba Hospital, which is the first, the fully VR-based hospital. So it's based in Israel, for instance. So it really immerses the patient in a different world. Then it's also used for phobias and addiction. So you see the example of Sayus at the bottom. So here the patient is being treated for fear of flying. They can also do like fear of spider, of height, etc. And the augmented reality, especially, it's helping patients to be more active. So we saw example of, most of you remember that game, like the zombie, where you had to chase zombies. So that was really making people maybe run faster, at least run, like it gets that extra adrenaline or extra motivation for you to do it. And then that famous example that you all know, the Pokemon Go, it has a great application in healthcare. It's been used like in different contexts really to encourage people to be active. So with that, people were stuck at home, then were not really going out. Without realizing, they started to go out to walk a lot, maybe more than 10,000 steps per day. And they were also being more social because they were meeting other people. So we have really great success stories about that in healthcare. And the last example I wanted to share is a company from Australia called Small World, who are using Google Glasses to help new mothers with breastfeeding. So you see, so the mom is wearing the Google Glasses while she's feeding the baby, and there's a nurse or healthcare professional who's on the other side, so she can overlook when the baby is feeding, and if there's an issue, well, they can guide the mom and tell her what to do, maybe understand what the issue is with the baby. And the last point is around patient experience, and I think that's key. That's like, if you think about it, like, patients are more than their disease there, and it's very important to really bring the patient at the center and to go beyond just treating the patient. So one application in education and stress release. So Dom will talk about that in a bit in his presentation, but AR/VR can really help patients, and maybe like so the kids and the adults, to understand better, like to prepare them better for the operations, to understand what will happen and to release the stress. So here the example of that French company called Ludicam. So you see they are using AR to shift the attention of the kid while they are doing blood draw. So you can see, like, you actually can see the actual arm on the screen, but on top of where the syringe is, they actually put like it's a frog here. I think it's super cute. So the kids actually focus on the frog and not thinking of what is happening, and is also more relaxed. It's easier for the nurse to practice the blood draw. AR/VR can also, used in surgery preparation. So you more to walk them through, maybe explain them like which maybe there's a tumor, which tumor they're gonna remove, where it's located in the body, and that really helps. And I think Chloe will focus on that in her presentation, how like pain, how the pain reduction and also the stress release, how it's impacting positively the operations, and how like a more relaxed patient, the treatment will be more efficient and the recovery will be faster as well. And I see also a great application of AR/VR for the people who are in the hospital for a long time. So see for month and month because of diseases. Can pick up the kids as well, maybe in the oncology department, who only see like the room and the hospital, and even more things are being done there. But like VR can really take you outside the hospital. You can go anywhere. You can go to the sea. You can go to another country, like you decide. And I think that's what we want. We want to see that picture on my slide. We want to see happy people. That I think that VR can really have that effect. And the last point here, we can help like this example of Google Glass can really help kids with special needs. So kids with autism or ADHD, for instance. And that's it for my part. So that was a quick overview of the different application of VR. There's more. There's in pharma, for instance, but yeah. And I will leave the floor to those three amazing companies that will explain their solution, focusing on one specific areas.
Thank you so much, Aline, for the wonderful examples. I think some of them are really, really interesting in terms of pain management and stress. So next up, we have Dr. Chloe Shawn. She is specializing in anesthesiology and intensive care. And she also runs a company called HypnoVR along with another doctor. So HypnoVR is a software solution that uses virtual reality headsets to achieve anesthesia under hypnosis. So over to Dr. Chloe for the presentation.
Hello. Yes. Good morning. Good afternoon. My name is Chloe Chauvin. I am one of the anesthetists of the pediatric team at Strasbourg University Hospital in France, and I am here with Dr. Graff, who is as well an anesthetist in a private clinic in Strasbourg. And we present you today how we use virtual reality hypnosis to improve pain and anxiety treatment in a medical setting. We are both the co-founder of HypnoVR, using virtual reality hypnosis to relieve pain and anxiety during operation. As you know, patients are on average 20% more anxious than the general population. And we can have 40 to 60% of anxiety during medical or surgical care. As you know, the preoperative anxiety promotes postoperative pain. It's a main objective then to decrease this preoperative anxiety. Of course, you can use drug, but non-pharmacological tools are interesting for pain management, for they have no one or few side effects. It's now recommended to use at least one non-pharmacological techniques for acute or chronic pain management. There are many techniques that can be used alone or as a supplement to drug treatment, or even better, local regional anesthesia. Some of these techniques have more scientific evidence for an indication in the management of acute pain, such as distraction, others for the relief of chronic pain, such as cognitive behavioral therapy, and some can be used in both cases, such as hypnosis, and others simply don't have enough evidence yet for some indication. Among these techniques, there is one that I particularly appreciate and that I have been practicing is hypnosis. Hypnosis is an altered state of consciousness that increases the suggestibility of the patient that he can respond in different propensity to suggestion. In this functional MRI, you can see here, we can see that painful stimulation activates sensory areas, but during hypnosis, the same stimulation failed to elicit any activation. Hypnosis has imposed itself in the perioperative period for more than 20 years, and its interest does not really debate anymore. Sorry, this slide is in French. It's a French report of a meta-analysis to evaluate the effectiveness of hypnosis. It is well known that hypnosis can decrease anxiety and pain during surgery, especially during endoscopy. However, this technique is time-consuming, requires a high level of practitioner availability and commitment from both the patient and caregiver. Therefore, only a small number of patients benefit from these techniques. Virtual reality can be defined as the immersion of an individual into a computer-generated three-dimensional world where stimulation can be multisensory. Medical virtual reality environments actually have very different devices with varying distraction to features that allow interaction with the virtual environment and that have a therapeutic objective. To be effective, the device must allow the patient to have the sensation of living and evolving in the virtual world rather than the physical world and feel that he is really there. We call this the presence in the virtual reality world. Effectiveness is directly related to the sense of presence in the virtual world. The treatment of pain through virtual reality was first popularized by Hoffman and his teams at the University of Washington in USA. This team was the first one to study virtual reality in a medical context. He created a world, Snow World, which is a reality game that allows the patient to throw snowballs at snowmen using in addition to opioid in burn care. In this study, the patient's immersion in this immersive universe results in a decrease in the pain score from 8 to 4 and a 50% decrease in morphine consumption. virtual reality leads to a reduction in the same way as hypnosis of the pain-related areas activity in this functional MRI again. We have many studies that show that virtual reality during surgery as well decrease opioid administration, decrease blood rate, and decrease blood pressure. This is another study we show you a decrease of activity again in the same area of sensory pain-related area. And you can see that the best combination is to combine virtual reality with small dose of opioid to maximize both effects. We have now a lot of study in children and both in adults. This is very new meta-analysis published last year to show that virtual reality decreases anxiety and pain, both in adults and children, in burn care, oncological care, or for example, for venous access. Of course, hypnosis can be combined with virtual reality that we call HypnoVR, with a standard script of clinical hypnosis, with a virtual reality immersion, and as well with coherence cardiac and musicotherapy. The application of virtual reality hypnosis is both in preoperative period to decrease anxiety. We can use it during a surgery to decrease the dose, the anxiety, the pain, and increase the patient comfort, or in postoperative period to decrease as well opioid consumption and decrease the pain. We have very promising results. HypnoVR showed to decrease anxiety decrease the anxiety, before an operation and after an operation. And we have very good results to decrease the opioid consumption after very painful surgery. Hypnosis and virtual reality in a medical setting are an additional tool to decrease anxiety and pain. And you can use it as a complementary or drug-free alternative. Of course, you have to use it for the good patient, for the good indication, and with a healthcare professional. Thank you.
Thank you, Chloe, for the amazing presentation. And we have some questions on the Q&A. We will take them towards the end once we have all the presentations on the spotlight done. So next up on the spotlight for challenges and opportunities in VR and AR, we have Mr. Ron. So next up we have Rod. He's the CEO of AIS Channel. Over to Rod for the next presentation.
Okay.
Sorry, my apologies. I think we have Dom Raban next. I'm sorry. Apologies, Rod. We will have you right after Dom is done. So next up, we have Dom Raban, co-founder and CEO of Xploro. Over to Dom for the next spotlight presentation.
Thank you. So, hi, my name's Dom Raban. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Xploro. So the Xploro story starts with this young woman. She's my daughter. She's called Izzy. And at the age of 13...
we can't see your slides. We just see your notes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Bear with me, I'll just reshare my screen. Okay, sorry. So hopefully you can see my slides now. So my name's Don Raban. I'm the CEO and co-founder of the...
It's a black screen.
Yeah, we don't see it yet.
I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
You have my slides. Good. Okay. So the Xploro story starts with this young woman. She's my daughter, Izzy. And when she was 13 years old, she was diagnosed with cancer. Thankfully, she's now cancer-free. But when she was ill, nobody told her what to expect. And that made her feel scared, anxious, and alone. And she was resistant to treatments because their purpose wasn't explained to her. And she was scared of new environments because she didn't know what to expect. And the long-lasting effect of all of that on my daughter is that she has a mistrust of health services. But that experience isn't unique to my daughter. So across the board, provision of information for children going into hospital is diabolically poor. And yet we know from all of the research evidence that patients who are well informed prior to their medical treatment experience reduced anxiety, and that can lead to better clinical outcomes. So once Izzy was out of treatment, I wanted to do something that would use my professional skills in design and software development to improve the experience for other children like my daughter going through a similar journey. And 5 years ago, I teamed up with the clinical director of the UK's largest children's hospital, and we started to think about how we could solve the problem. So Xploro is a disease-agnostic digital therapeutics platform that uses augmented reality, artificial intelligence, and games to give young people a voice, making them feel engaged, empowered, and informed whilst having fun at the same time. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to switch now to a demo, and hopefully this will work. So you should now be able to see Xploro on my iPad. I'm going to tap the button that says, yep, let me in. And I need 3 secret words to access Xploro. And in this case, they are darken, ease, and dangle. Okay, so now we're into the app. I'm going to tap the present and out pops an avatar. Now, the whole idea of Xploro is that the child creates and customizes an avatar, and this avatar then becomes their guide through their healthcare journey. So if I tap the forward arrow, the avatar is going to show me around Xploro. But first, we're going to customize the avatar to make it our own. So I'm just going to change some parameters here. So we'll maybe have some hair, maybe some glasses, and I'll put some clothes on too. And we can also have our avatar wearing a face mask, very topical, maybe a stethoscope, or we could have our avatar in a wheelchair. I'm going to go with a first aid kit and tap done. So now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to give our avatar a name, and we do that from a list of first names and second names. So I'm going to go with Big Al Miracle and tap done. And now it's saying that my avatar is going to enter my world. Now this is just about making that avatar feel real to the child. So if I tap the forward arrow, and then I'll tap the forward arrow again, and you'll see that my camera has been activated, and you can see my desk here. And in a second, a balloon is going to appear. Now when that balloon turns green, I tap it, and there is my avatar on my desk. And this is just, the child at any point can see their avatar in the real world. And that's just about helping to form the relationship between the child and the avatar. So now we've set up the avatar, we're into the main app, and I'm going to talk you through the main features. So I'm going to go to the menu, which is top left. And I'm going to start with the picture of a clinician at 11 o'clock on the dial. So when you go into hospital, it's really confusing understanding who everyone is and what they do. This list is configured through our management system by each hospital. I'm going to show you the radiographer. Here we understand who a radiographer is and what they do. What we can do in this section is we can change the look of that radiographer so that they look like our own radiographer. So I'm just going to change a couple of characteristics here. And we can also give that avatar a name, and this helps us remember the name of the person who's looking after us. And I'll just save that. And if I go back through the list, you'll see that Susie, the radiographer, has now appeared in the list. And so the child can go through and customize all of these avatars. Now I'm going to go round now to the first aid kit on the purple background. And this is the treatments section. Here we explain a range of complex treatments. So let's take a look at MRI. Now that red balloon up in the top corner, if I tap that, that means we can see any of these interactives in augmented reality. I'm not going to show you that just here. I'll show you that a little later. But I'm going to tap the forward arrow now. And now we see an exploded view of the MRI. And I can tap around that model and find out what all of the component parts do. I'll press the forward arrow again now. And the MRI comes back together. And in a second, we're going to see the control room come into view. Now, when the control room comes into view, there's a monitor there. If I tap that monitor, I can see an MRI scan. I'll press the forward arrow again. There's Susie, the radiographer I created earlier. She's just popped into the scene. Now, all of those avatars are contextual. So had I customized a surgeon and I was in the operating theatre, it would be my surgeon that appeared there. So I'll press the forward arrow again. And it's telling me that the MRI is going to make lots of noise. So if I go on again, and it's saying put the headphones on and listen to the music. Now you can hear now the sound of the MRI. If I move that slider at the top of the screen, I can drown out the sound of the MRI and listen to music. So I'm going to come out of there. I'm going to go into the next section, which is the games. Now we have a series of games. Each explains a different medical concept. I'm going to show you Plasma Patrol. Plasma Patrol is all about how leukemia is treated. The object of the game is to collect platelets, vitamins, iron, lymphocytes, and chemotherapy to destroy cancer cells and to avoid white blood cells, pathogens, fat cells, and dead cells. So let me quickly show you how that's played. I'll tap play solo. Some of these games are multiplayer. This is just a single player game. So there's my avatars, jumped in a spaceship. In a second, we're going to see them in the bloodstream. So here we go. 3, 2, 1, and we're off. So I'm controlling that rocket with my finger. There's some cancer cells here, so I need to get those, but I need to avoid those white blood cells if I can. And there's some chemotherapy there, but I don't know if I can get it without, yes, I've got it without destroying the white blood cells. So I'm going to come out of there. And if I continued that game, my score would be submitted to a leaderboard. So I'll go around to the home screen. Now, you may have noticed that my avatar is always present bottom left of the screen. And that's because at any point I can always ask my avatar a question. So let's say I want to know, will my operation hurt? Now, my spelling isn't normally that bad, but if I was 8 years old, it might be. So will my operation hurt? And it's understood what I'm saying. It's done that by using something called synthetic phonics. So it's broken the word down into phonemes and understood the intent of what I'm asking. So I'm going to close that and I'm going to go back to the menu. And now I'm going to go around to the environments. And here we explain different hospital environments. So let's take a look at the operating theatre. And this time I'm going to tap the red balloon. And you will see, again, the red balloon in a second will appear in the scene. And when it turns green, I'm going to tap it. So there we go. Now there's the operating theatre on my desk. I'm going to navigate around the operating theatre by moving my iPad around the model. And I can tap things in the model to find out what they do. And you can see some avatars there walking around the scene too. So I'm going to go back to the menu now and I'm going to go up to this question mark. Now, apparently Dr. Smith wants to ask me some questions. So this is also a communication system between the clinician and the patient. So let's tap start. Dr. Smith is asking me if during the last 7 days I felt any pain. So maybe I felt pain sometimes. Now I'm going to send those answers. They will be sent directly to the patient record, but you will also see that as well as sending those answers to the patient record, I've just won a dance. I've won the funky chicken. So I'm going to tap OK, and you can now see there's the dance I've just won for answering those questions. Okay, so I'm going back to the menu. I'm going to go to the last section, which is the calendar. And here we have a calendar that integrates with our parent application, with our clinical management portal, and with hospital systems. So we can bring in calendar events from all those places. I'm going to just quickly add an event here. Let's say I've got a scan coming up, categorize it as a treatment. I'll just save this down. I can add some notes about the event if I want as well. And you'll see there's a question mark next to the event I've just added. If I tap that question mark, I can record how I feel about that upcoming event. So maybe I'm feeling nervous. I'll tap that, and that information is played back to clinicians via our management system too. But it's also asking me how I'm feeling today. And generally, I'm feeling happy today, so I'll tap that, and we can record that too. So I'm just going to switch back now to my presentation. If you'll just bear with me a second, there we go. So does Xploro work? So last year, our research partners conducted a clinical study which showed that children with access to Xploro demonstrated a statistically significant reduction in procedural anxiety, as well as statistically significant increases in both knowledge about procedures and patient satisfaction. And what's more, their parents showed similar results. And that study has been published in the Journal of Medical Internet Research. And finally, although we're starting with children with cancer, our vision is to build a health information platform for any patient of any age, with any condition, anywhere in the world. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dom. I mean, that was a really, really intriguing and amazing presentation. The run through your portal, your platform, your application was simply amazing. The VFX, the anime, all the features, it's really sophisticated and advanced. It's really exciting to see what you've been working on. Thank you so much for the presentation. Next up, we have Rod Menchaca from AIS Channel. So Advances in Surgery. So over to Rod Menchaca to share his experience and a presentation on Spotlight. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Hello, everyone from the rainy Barcelona in Spain. It's a pleasure to be here invited. I would love to be in person, but unfortunately, we're living this crazy situation. So I hope that all of you and your families are safe and okay. Okay, so I'm going to do something different than my colleagues, and be prepared because we are from the surgical world. We are going to see some bloody images. So warned, you are warned, and I'm gonna start. Okay. Okay, so fun is not the opposite of serious. So I'm going to take you to this TV serial in the late 60s, which was called Star Trek. And if you remember this character, the Mr. Spock, and he was teleporting people from the spaceships to a planet or to some different areas. So this is all about teleporting people. We are using augmented reality to teleport surgeons from wherever they are to inside of operating theaters to give real-time support via augmented reality and using 5G technology. Okay, so I am Rod Menchaca, and I am the CEO of Advances in Surgery channel. Okay, so who we are the largest training platform for surgeons around the world. We used to train more or less 400,000, 420,000 surgeons all over the world in 185 countries, including China. And we are a data-driven platform that combines broadcast transmission of live surgeries, augmented reality, virtual reality, the state-of-the-art technologies to support the surgeons in their daily jobs. In fact, we were the cover of the National Geographic magazine in 2019 only because of this. So we have different units: the channel, the transmission, an online learning platform, which is Kairos, our educational solutions, our artificial intelligence systems, but I'm going to put some focus on the educational technology solutions. Okay, so as Aline said, and she was explaining about, you know, the differences between virtual reality and augmented reality. I'm not going to go deep on that, but the only thing that I can tell you is that in virtual reality, in medical and surgical training was not that helpful. We did do it, but we found that it was way more helpful as my colleagues were telling before, in the patient side. So what we did with virtual reality was this: in hospital clinic in Barcelona, we did recreate the entire journey of a patient that's going to pass through a surgery inside of the hospital.
Pues ahora me acompañas, que te acompañaría a la habitación.
So basically the patient can pre-live their experience, okay, via
¿Ya estás preparada?
virtual reality.
Muy bien.
Okay, so in this case, the patient
Antes de nada, vamos a
can
comprobar que tu nombre es el
reduce
correcto.
the anxiety
¿Qué tal? Soy la
of
doctora
passing
Otero
through a
del equipo de
surgery.
cirugía.
So they can
Voy a
live over
presentarme,
and over and
porque
over
tal
again
ha ido el
the
ingreso,
surgical
y
experience
recuerdo que cualquier
to
duda que
reduce the
tengas
anxiety. And the
o
results
si quieres
after a
preguntar,
clinical
se lo
trial
puedes
of
decir al equipo de
2
psicología,
years
que
of doing
nosotros
clinical
nos
trials and more than
comunicarán a nosotros.
200 patients, the results are outstanding. We did reduce in more than 14% the pre-operative anxiety. Okay, so this is an example of a real use and a daily use of virtual reality in the surgical space, in the patient's side. Now I'm gonna go to augmented reality, the professional side, the surgical side. Okay, so it's not the same to transmit knowledge, to know how to do something, then make a decision on the top of the knowledge that you have in your brain, right? So I can understand how to play golf, but if I grab a stick and if I go to a golf field, probably I'm not going to be able to hit the ball, even that I know anything and everything about golf, right? So, okay, let's remember this. There is a difference between knowledge and critical thinking. So the dream was how we can take someone with a lot of experience and knowledge and transmit that knowledge to another person in a different location. That was a dream. And we are coming back to this TV series.
Now, energize and detonate.
Okay, so Mr. Spock here was moving Scotty and the captain of the Star Trek from one place to the other. So what happens if we do the same inside of an operating theater? So we did create this machine that is an augmented reality machine that is connected with inside of the operating theater with all the elements inside of the operating theater in this way. A surgeon can be outside in a taxi, in their houses, at the beach, anywhere. They, by using their phone or their I don't know, tablet or whatever, they get connected via the 5G or 4G with this machine. This machine is connected with the sources, the laparoscopic sources in the OR, and you can draw and you can have access to those laparoscopic cameras, and you can give instructions in real time, saying, "Cut here, go there, this is a dangerous area," etc., etc. Looks like science fiction, but we have been doing this over the last 2 years with more than 600 surgeries performed in every continent, including China. And the first one that we did was in Barcelona in February 2019. And we were all over the news, all over the world.
Now I I think we can go to the operating room and we can see what's going on there. Can we connect with the operating room? There are all the nerves that you need to maintain, because if you cut those nerves, the patient has problems with urinary problems, sexual problems, many things. And that is the reason, because you need to maintain.
Well, we got a gee whiz story for you. A team of doctors in Barcelona removed a cancerous tumor from a patient's colon. The surgeon overseeing the procedure was miles away. Joining us now, Dr. Mark Siegel. Doctor, this is all about 5G. Tell me how this thing worked.
Stuart, you already hit on the key point, because 5G is 100 times faster than 4G. And the problem with telesurgery before this was the delay. Can you imagine a surgeon that's many miles away that's overlooking a surgical field?
Okay, now we will see just a drop on how it works.
So we have the image of the whole operating room, but we can change this point of view. Actually, we have 5 different points of view. We have the main one, we have the patient's heart rate and blood pressure, we have the transanal dissection, we have the transabdominal dissection, and we have a main picture, a big picture of the transanal field. So let's choose one of them. We can choose the transanal field to show you all the tools we have. So these buttons are here so that they are thought to be maybe in an iPad, or so that you can do it with your thumb or with your index. This is the pointer, which is a scalpel, but we can change it to a regular pointer. We can draw lines. I can show Dr. Lacey where the plane is or where he should dissect. We can do that in different colors. So that was yellow, but we can do it in green or red or blue. We can choose any color we like.
Okay.
We can also
so you get the image, and this is a very powerful use of augmented reality without Googles, without nothing. We are doing it with computers and connecting this with the OR and the machines inside of the operating theater. And so far, we did a global validation. As I said, we did a couple of publications in Lancet, British Journal of Surgery, ASCAR, SAGES, etc., with our trials. And I'm going to tell you on a small tale. When we were doing a connection between Barcelona and Bogota in Colombia, one of our surgeons was at the airport with his laptop open and interacting in a real-time surgery. And it was Dr. Jose Valibrea. So you can imagine him, in the corner of the airport with his computer, with bloody images, and suddenly a couple of policemen appear in his back and a couple of 2 in his front, and they say, "Hey, what are you doing?" He was in this trance of interacting in a real-time surgery, and he wrote a note in a napkin saying, "I'm mentoring a surgery, I'm a doctor, I can stop." So the policemen, they said, "Okay, doctor, keep going, keep doing what you're doing." And if a police in an airport can understand this, looks like the society is ready for this kind of high-level augmented reality solutions. When COVID-19 happens, and I saw a question in the chat, how can be applied in COVID-19? So our decision was to take all of this technology, because we had a lot of intensivists at home in quarantine or with COVID-19, right? And we had young people in the OR trying to fine-tune the ventilators, which are very complicated. So what we did was to use this technology to have the intensivists at home, giving instructions, and have the young resident receiving those instructions and receiving instant knowledge. So just to end, augmented reality in surgery for us is the ability of teleport knowledge, and it's a superpower to be in 2 places at the same time. My last slide is a collaboration slide. We are open to collaborate with anyone, and if you want to try this technology, we are 100% open to it. Here you have my email, my Twitter, and the website of Advances in Surgery. Thank you.
Thank you, Rod, for that enthusiastic presentation. Some of the pictures were, like you mentioned, were really went down my spine, some jitters down my spine, but very, very interesting. Thank you for sharing all the advances that you've been working around. Also want to thank you for very quickly answering all the Q&A questions, so which also gives us some time to take some other questions that are not answered. On the Q&A section, we have one question which is not answered by Gaurav Yadav. So his question is, when should I enter the virtual reality or the augmented reality market as a consumer? So that's a little tricky question. I think Muthusa would like to answer the question.
Well, if I can answer it, augmented reality is here, so you can live it. If you go to IKEA or different places, you can download apps and you can have elements, virtual elements in the real world. Virtual reality obviously depends on the headsets, depends on, right now with COVID, to clean headsets is very hard. So it's to be determined. Obviously, one is harder than the other. Augmented reality is 100% here.
Right. Yeah. So I think it's up to the consumer how they're going to build the elements, bring all the elements together to start using AR and VR. So that's good. So some other questions around AR and VR is, this is open to all the panelists on the spotlight. Who do you think? So I mean, do you think AR and VR is going to be a fad, or is it going to be a trend? What do you see, a fad or a trend coming up? Anybody can take it.
It's going to be a trend. Things have been evolving a lot of space. I think the technology is getting better and better, and we're going to see more and more application and more adoption. And I think maybe something like with COVID this past month, many people use it, or healthcare professional, psychiatrists or psychologists, recommending them for their patients. Because in the case of Spain, for instance, we're in strict lockdown. The only way we could access virtual reality, we could access healthcare system was remotely. And you can actually, so I don't know if we really mentioned that, but you can access virtual reality through like those easy cardbox VR headset. You don't need always like a real headset. So that's what happens. So no, for me, from my point of view, for sure, it's gonna be great. It's gonna grow and be bigger and bigger.
Thank you, Aline. I think, yeah, that's most people is what they're thinking, that it's going to be a trend. Any other counter stand for, is the VR going to be a fad, or do you think it's going to sort of fade away after some time? And any other counter stand from any of the panelists?
So I'd just add to that and say that this shouldn't just be about the technology, it should be about the need. AR and VR will continue to grow and be incredibly useful as long as they're meeting the needs of patients and clinicians. So it's about the use case. We've seen lots and lots of examples in the past of AR and VR that are purely for technology's sake. So for AR and VR to be a success, and I think some of the other examples that have been shown today are perfect examples of that, there has to be a defined need from either the patient or the clinician.
So is there sort of a forecast for the VR market? Do you see that it's going to be specifically in the healthcare space, or how do you see VR actually growing in the next decade or so?
Well, if I can take that, video games is the name of the game. Like, video games is a huge industry that's constantly growing. They did some attempts in cinema, but looks like it's not really working, because you want to be with some others to comment the movie, right? So you don't want to be exactly only that movie. Well, yeah, for me, and selling of houses, like real estate, to pre-visit something that you want to buy. I think those are areas where this is going to grow.
So in terms of demographics, what do you think is the most suited for AR and VR? Do you think, I mean, is there a specific target that you can have for an AR VR campaign in terms of the ranges?
So I mean, I've seen applications of VR for people with dementia, as well as for very young children. It's not really, it doesn't discriminate in terms of the demographic. The technology provides anyone from any background, any demographic, with an opportunity both in AR and VR, to experience the world in a different way.
Yep.
I think that's a beautiful answer, because people who actually require technology will not have all the skill sets, or they actually are, they want to get enabled or want to get, powered more. So the technology is supposed to be helping them. So that's actually a great answer. Thank you for that answer. So with that, I think we'll sort of wrap up today's spotlight session. I want to thank Aline for being a truly digital health connector and bringing together all the startups for this beautiful spotlight session. I'd like to hand over the session to the curator, Mr. Muthu Singh Aram, for the closing remarks before we can wrap up today's session just in time, so everybody can go for lunch, dinner, or breakfast.
Thank you so much. A great panel session, and we had, I think, one of the most number of questions. And it's the last day, last session. Maybe people got a little excited and going to miss us. We had a great program. We had done 10 sessions over the last 10 days, created by 2 curators. We had over 50 speakers from 4 continents. So we only missed out Africa and South America. So we need to get them in next time around when we do it in Bangkok next year, and get some of you to Bangkok as well. And many of the panels were chaired by women. So that is great to see so many women in the healthcare sector. I think we had probably about 20 or so lady speakers, women speakers in this time. We had great demographics from all over the world. We had coming in from Europe. We had people coming in from North America. We had people from Asia, Australia, Japan, you name it, India. They all came. And in my last comment session, I want to thank every one of my speakers. And I know 90% of you personally, and you helped me tremendously. And the other 10%, I will know you 100% next year. So that's absolutely fantastic. So, and I want to thank the Maison Düsseldorf Singapore team headed by Daphne. Thank you very much, Daphne, if you're there. Maybe you can also show us your face with your team. And I want to thank you so much. And I also want to thank my co-curator, Patricia Jane, doing the last session. Even she just got married, she's taken some time off to help me with this. Daphne is there, and I think we have to give her a clap. Daphne has been working with me for the last 6 months to get all together.
Thank you, everybody.
You are always fantastic helping me, and you say nobody works 24 hours like us. I agree with you. So with that, I say thank you very much to the Singapore team. I look forward to seeing you all soon, and I look forward to seeing everybody in France and Spain when I can go back to Europe again, hopefully in the near future. Thank you so much, and keep safe, and Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to all of you. I know you're going to have a very close Christmas, but at least let's enjoy that, and social distance, but not social isolation. We'll all keep in touch, and thank you so much for supporting me and getting the Startup Podium going to build the world-class ecosystem. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you, Senator. Bye.